What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Two Preachers in the Popcorn Box podcast. I am your host, Pastor B, and my co-host,
WW84. What's happening, people?
What's going on, everybody? Again, thank you guys so much for tuning in to today's episode. This is the first episode of 2021. So happy New Year, Merry Christmas, all of that beautiful jazz. We're so grateful for you guys listening to the podcast and watching us on Facebook Live and on YouTube Live as well. So today's movie is Wonder Woman 84, a very interesting movie. A movie that has a lot of conversation tied to it, and we will most certainly talk about it. So before we dive in, though, I want to introduce a new segment entitled "Choose Ye This Day." Choose ye this day. If you're watching us on Facebook or YouTube, you see the two hands of the blue pill and the red pill. Simply what this is I'm going to give DT two options, and he has to choose between the two. All right. And so
it's got to be a third choice, though. Got to be a third choice.
No, man. No,
third
sir.
choice, but
Morpheus only gave me your two choices.
That was in the movie. So, we in real life. We need more than one choice. Jesus gives us plenty choices.
Hey, you know what? Jesus didn't write this particular part of the show.
I'm just saying. He is the way, the truth, and the light.
All right. So, DT, which was your most dramatic movie moment? All right.
Of the movie?
Not this movie. Wait for it.
Okay.
Wait for it.
Okay.
All right. Your most dramatic movie moment. The Infinity War snap or the death of Mufasa? Out of those two,
the death of Mufasa, man. The death of Mufasa. What are you talking about?
Explain, my friend.
The death of the Black Father. Are you serious? The once we get the opportunity to see a father figure,
yeah,
all of a sudden the backstabbing uncle decides to take the father out and then leaves Simba to be a man on his own. That's greater. That has, to me, you can't snap your way through stuff. Simba had to learn. We run away from circumstances, situations. We depend upon certain people that always keep it popping and happy, knowing eventually we're going to have to grow up. So we have to change who we are in order to defeat the certain things that we come in contact with. So, I'm gonna be Lion King all day. I'm a Marvel fan, but you can't ever get that twisted. Before I even realized there was an Avengers, snap. There was, the whole, everything. So, can't ever talk about choose this. What type of question? My bad. Handle business. My bad.
I will say this. So when I watched Lion King, I agree with you 100%. We didn't really get a chance to know who Mufasa was, and then he died, right?
Right.
So that definitely struck me as a kid, just like, oh, wait, he dead already? Right? But the moment in the movie theater when the snap occurred and Thanos says you should have went for the head, snap, and then you start seeing like the different people going away, that kind of was difficult to deal with as well. Especially Spider-Man and Black Panther. Those were the two people that I didn't see going away. And I was like, oh, wait, what's happening? Because, of course, we know the history of Thanos, right? We know that his whole goal was to wipe away half of existence. We know that. But the in-the-moment shock of it all, Thanos' snap was up there.
I mean, you can say what you want to, bro. At least Thanos forewarned you. You ain't know you was about to lose Simba's daddy. You ain't finna know nothing about that. You all of a sudden seeing him playing with his father and having a good old time, and all of a sudden, realistically, the backstabbing, greedy uncle was like, I want this anyway.
I
Daddy
got
got
you.
to go. That's reality. That is a lifetime movie right there waiting to happen. That's what that is.
That's
So,
true.
I mean, again, we can go snap all day. We can do a snap all day, but it is what it is. I mean, there's a lot more things that you can relate to in The Lion King, far as I'm concerned. I mean,
Okay.
because it was one of those movies, and it just had that hint of African American culture behind it. It was in
Yeah.
Africa, so I mean, you had then all the other pieces that put it together, and then here it is, the trying of a young black man to try to make himself out of somebody and fill the shoes of a father he barely knew.
Got you.
Can't hit me with nothing else. But anyway, Mike, I got
Hey,
you. We.
listen, there's no wrong answer here, right? Just a way to kind of, see um which way we're thinking on that, right?
I'm just saying, you talking about blue or red. I mean, we talking about, you can't bring the Matrix in here and expect to go back to normal. Neo went through some things. But
He
anyway,
did. Real talk, he did. All right. So Wonder Woman 84. First of all, going into the movie, what was your expectation for the movie?
hopefully it ain't garbage. I mean, to at least give me something. I mean,
Yeah.
um, just to be entertained, really. I mean, to be
Mm-hmm.
honest with you, this year has been rough for the culture that we love, that movie, the movie theater, the
Right.
whole feel of going to the movie theater and seeing a movie, good or bad, happy or sad, the anticipation of what's coming out. So it was just the whole feel of expecting a major movie. You fall from, Wonder Woman, which did an amazing job,
Right.
to WW, 84, which was, they just should have replayed Wonder Woman and just left 84 where it was at. Uh, but I mean, yeah, so it's a whole feeling. The whole move has shifted.
Mm-hmm.
So my anticipation for Wonder Woman was minimal. And then watching it decreased.
Got it.
Just just be real.
The one thing about this movie that I realized is it had a lot of great themes, especially for like our take on movies, right? There was a lot of different little nuggets that really aids in our conversation. But the plot of this movie was terrible.
There wasn't no plot. What you talking about? Stevie Wonder could have did better putting stuff on paper. Are you serious? We could have watched Munchie Chi. We could have watched Thunder the Barbarian. We could have watched anything, because the
Yeah.
plot itself, it was horrible. I seen Swiss cheese stand up better in a
Well, tell us
freezer.
how you really feel.
I'm gonna be honest with you. It was you couldn't tie AB and to get the seat on that thing. It wasn't.
Yeah.
You started in Albuquerque and you ended up in Wakanda somewhere, just in an unimaginable place. It's just ridiculous. So yeah, now the only thing I liked about the movie was the intro. That's it.
Cool. So the intro was really, really good, and it's very disappointing that they didn't that they almost went away from the intro, right? Because within the first like 3 lines of the movie, there was a really great nugget. Um, as she's doing the voiceover, right? She says, "Sometimes you can't know what you're learning until you come out on the other side," right? And that itself, although I don't really understand how it like tied into the movie per se, but it was a great line.
The Yeah, the lines are wonderful. Whether or not they have anything attached to them is a whole nother subject. We're not going to even get into that. So, just the scene alone, the intro was, it almost made me believe the movie was going to be about something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I said that out loud. I should not say that. Because of how it started. I mean, of course, there are things, she was the youngest of all the young Amazons, and she put
Mm-hmm.
it to the test and she surpassed. The only thing you got out of that is that don't cheat,
Yeah.
or don't cheat your way through life. And then you crying about everything will not be the solution to overcome it. Um, so for that part, how she strived and pushed and exceptionally well, and how she had some proud moments, and she had her own personal defeats, and then how she overcame the personal defeats at that age and found a way to still get there and almost win before the woman who trained her stopped her and says, that's not
Yeah.
it. And then mama came to console her. So, for me, I mean, that was cool. I like that part because it was like this little kid is killing it. They making all the other Amazons look like they was garbage.
For
So,
real.
I'm like, okay, we I'm into it. That was fine. I'm talking about the hoops, the loops, all that, the flipping, the spinning, the spear, the horse riding, hitting the arrow. I'm talking about how you like 5 years old, side saddling with an arrow and you hitting colors and
Right.
you making it pop. I'm talking about you was killing it. I mean, you was
Yeah.
doing you swimming like a dolphin, like You're 2 years old. I know you were from 5 to 2, but you're 2 years old. The minnow's bigger than you, and you up there, like you're an Olympic swimmer, killing it. So, to me that was fire. Now, we digress tremendously after that. So you go ahead on. I'm listening.
Yeah. So after, I think the final line of that opening scene, she asks the question, when will it be my time? Right. And her mother says, soon. Like it's coming, but like you mentioned, you can't cheat your way to victory. And so, as me playing quote unquote devil's advocate, trying to possibly tie that in to the back half of the movie, hey, I tried. Okay. Um,
With what,
it
duct
was,
tape and super glue? Oh,
hold
my bad.
on,
My
wait.
bad. My bad. Excuse me. It slipped. It
So,
slipped right out.
her desire to have a normal life, I think that pull of, hey, when can I have a normal life because I've sacrificed all of um, my personal loves, and Steve um, Trevor magically pops up on the scene, right?
Again, hot mess.
um, and so Steve finally comes, and Steve knows that, hey, although I'm here, your powers are going away. And so there's something we have to do. Like, you gotta let me go, right? So I think that's how they tried to tie that part together. But other than that, the movie itself was not that great.
It wasn't. And just like 84, it should have stayed in 84, never to come to 2020, not the end of it anyway. We had already been through trial and tribulations, and now we was anticipating an awesome movie, and here we is watching how it is, what they do. Now don't get it twisted. The fight scenes was fire. Fight
Yes.
scenes was fire. If they had no words and just fought, it would have been, I'm sorry, I said that. Sorry, that is not what I need to say. My bad. Because, people like you, sis, hey, Brittany, people want to see the movie. We don't want to take away from it. I'm not trying to take away from it. This is only my opinion. So please, you might have a different perspective. Even though, and this is the other thing, I read reviews about, what people were saying prior to seeing Wonder Woman, and I
Yeah.
didn't want to believe them. Like, because people talk, so everybody has a different perspective. So, excuse me, I didn't want to take that perspective um and run with it. So I had an
Correct.
open mind. And I thought again with an open mind in the intro of the movie, we was like, okay, the people are wrong. It's like, oh, okay. My okay shifted. But again,
Yeah.
there's still certain pieces. even, you know, with Diana wanting a normal life, and then Trevor magically popping up out of nowhere. You imagine you see him, you hear a phrase, and a dude you ain't never
Okay.
seen in your life. All of a sudden, you at a bar, and he ain't even dressed properly. You dressed to the nine, and he up there like he came straight from the grocery store. And all of a sudden, he say something to remind you, touch
Straight
your
from
hand,
Walmart.
stranger, has touched your hand. You allow a stranger in COVID-19. You gonna allow somebody to touch your hand? It wasn't even social distancing. You didn't even have a mask on, so you didn't even know this cat. So you walk around here, all of a sudden you see the dude, and you like he say something that's automatically reminds you of Trevor because you just thought about Trevor. You ain't even be on my. I wish you just had an imaginal
Okay.
point. So
So we
I had.
good
I'm
because
sorry.
we was the majority of this movie was gonna be salty buttered anyway. So
The
you brought
whole
up one
movie
of
is salty,
them.
so, like forget the butter. It's straight up like iodine, salt in an open wound, and you just poured it till the bottle was empty. I'm sorry. I gotta quit. Forgive me.
Okay. So for those who have not seen the movie,
Oh,
right?
that's right.
Um,
My bad.
here's what's happening in the second half of the movie. The primary villain is Max Lord. And I
Who's
gotta
low
tell
level?
you this.
Who's low level? Like
Yeah,
low to no level.
in the Marvel, yeah, I
DC.
know. DC, I'm sorry. Um, so I got to tell you this because we are in the salty butter portion of the podcast.
Brittany say I taste the salt.
That first bite of Lay's chips, original, that first one,
No,
soup.
no
Um,
salt and vinegar chips.
yeah, it is.
The
It is.
whole bag. You ate the whole bag for
So
2 hours.
no water, no nothing, just straight
Just
salt.
2 hours.
Um,
Crying. Whole every time you bite a chip, you just crying. You can't. My bad. Go ahead on B. Excuse me. My bad.
no, this is perfectly fine. So on Twitter, somebody said that Max Lord was a televangelist for the Make a Wish Foundation.
Ain't he what he was? Sure he was. He sure was. He sure was. For only $1, you too can get this prayer cloth. I'm talking about with the hair
Oh my God!
and the pointing of the finger and that one catchphrase that was horrible. You just in that suit looked like it was wool and them two sisters together.
Polly and Esther.
Yes, indeed, with a wool blend attached to it. And so this dude who was already, I'm sorry, go ahead on my bad, my bad.
No. So as you mentioned, in the whole DC universe, I had never heard of Max Lord until this movie, right?
He low
Um,
level, like dirt level, like my bad, my bad. Go ahead on. Excuse me. Pray for me,
and
people.
so,
Pray for me. Pray for me hard.
and so his, I guess his shtick was, hey, if you wish something,
We
I magically become more powerful. All you
right,
got to do is say it.
right.
Say it.
Like we ain't got no Jesus. We just got Max Lord. Just. My bad.
Right.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Now, here is where I truly believe that the movie missed an opportunity. So you remember after like he consumes this what was the rock called?
A
The
rock at this point. It was has no valid power. It's a rock. Let's go.
so after he consumes it and Diana is researching it, she touches the leftover part of it and she says something about, hey, this reminds me of some type of god, right? Why didn't they like go in that direction and like have some type of godly type of major villain? Because I was like, wait, he's supposed to be the one that we're afraid of? A wish? And then not only a wish, but there wasn't any consistency as to how the wish was granted,
It
right?
wasn't. It was so spaced out. It's like you social distance the script. That's what you did. That's That's exactly what you did. The script was social distance to the point the first page didn't know what the second page was doing, and the second page didn't know what the third page was doing. All in all, by the time you got done, nobody knew what the script was. Y'all would just say, do your part, do my part. No, 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 Craig. No, no, no. Just it
And
was there was a lot of discombobulation in this because you again, like you said, whatever in the event, because I assume once he absorbed the stone, there
yeah,
should have been this transformation. That
something.
even it's almost like giving Lex Luthor
Hmm.
a special ability because he's just a huge salesman. He's just a
Yeah,
huge salesman at this point. You're a salesman who's down and out. So you orchestrated this whole thing to get this stone that you've been researching because you researched it to get it shipped to, the museum or wherever, the girl was who turned out to be, Cheetah, which is
hmm,
cuckoo. Um, and then you manipulated her because she wanted to be like Diana, and she's
right.
so green. All of a sudden, you get Diana's abilities and powers, but you didn't get them from her because you wanted to be like her. And now we find out that when she wished for Trevor, she was losing her powers to keep him alive. What did they do to form this foolishness? What?
I really
I
think they
mean,
had COVID on the brain for real.
you know what? They should have did a sobriety test before they did this script. I guarantee you that a couple of people was tossing back a couple of ones because they knew it was Christmas. So they started when the movie was being putting together. Bruh. But anyway, my bad. Just you gotta
No,
excuse me.
it's
It's I did not expect, this to be a car crash, a train wreck, and a hole at one time. So, go on
I
ahead.
honestly tried to give it the benefit of the doubt. I think if this movie would have been on released in theaters only, and I only had one opportunity to watch this movie and then do this podcast, my commentary would not be as bad.
I only
But
watched it
I
once.
messed up and watched this movie multiple times.
I'm gonna pray for you. That's what I'm gonna do.
I'm just
I mean, I'm
look,
gonna need everybody on here to seek the Lord to give you some strength. I cannot believe after one time of seeing that, bruh, we gonna
look.
everybody
It
touch the
wasn't
screen.
great. From the first time I watched it, it wasn't great. But everybody who said that the movie was trash, I was like, well, I mean, it ain't that bad, right?
You
But
do have a heart. You have a heart.
I went back and watched this movie obviously like two or three more times. And I was just like, okay, this is stupid. This is dumb. Um, the fact that everybody in the movie was so gullible that they couldn't figure out what he was doing.
I mean, but the one thing it did show is a level of selfishness even with Diana, aka Wonder Woman. She
Right.
didn't want to let, Trevor go. That's a level of selfishness. And that was a huge thing for me throughout this entire movie. It screamed, I'm selfish. I want this for myself. I
Right.
want Max Lord, or girl that played Cheetah, Diana. How come the Trevor that you wish for was the only one that was trying to keep you sane and telling you I got to go? He was already dead in the first place. So you couldn't bring him back no matter how much you wished him for. So I'm like, but still, everybody. So what does that say? Even the strongest of us have a selfish nature.
Absolutely.
If you want to tie in for us, not for them,
Yeah.
but for us. It Max Lord did a huge point on it, even when it came to his son. And that was the
Mm-hmm.
amazing part about me. You granted everybody else's wish but your own child's. Because your son was screaming, touching the screen, for his daddy, for his daddy, for his daddy. Now you hear it everybody else, but you can't hear the one voice that you talking about you doing everything for. I just thought that
Right.
was kind of weird too. And then how people were fighting to get to his office when clearly he wasn't even there. Whew.
So one of the craziest things, because I titled this episode "Be Careful What You Wish For," right? Because obviously throughout the entire movie, people, get these wishes, but then the residue and the result of these wishes, they were like, "Well, dang, I didn't think I was gonna get that when I, asked for this wish." And so one of the funniest things is you hear this old man after he talks to Max Lord, and he said, he promised me that I was gonna have a farm.
Right.
And the farm was outside of the building. It wasn't like an actual farm, right?
Right. It was just animals.
Right. Absolutely. So
We
again, execution of whatever they were trying to say was horrible.
And you wouldn't expect that. We shouldn't have never expected to see a tragedy on film for 2 hours. Let me say for 2 hours, for tragedy on film for 2 hours. I'm gonna repeat that for all the people in the back. It was, and we don't even have to talk about it anymore. Because it was just that bad.
Yeah.
And I'm so surprised because of the first Wonder Woman. And intro movies are the ones that you are not expected to get a whole lot out of. And then once the second one comes out, you expect it to be greater than the first one. You don't expect it to be this. And I don't know why they, like you said, chose Max Lord or didn't transform Max Lord to make him become a bigger threat. But then you turn, selfishness into a villain, would turn, cheater.
With
And
Cheetah,
she
right.
want, and then she wanted to save Max Lord because she didn't want to lose her
Her
ability
powers.
to be like, Diana. So she was willing to save the person that was willing trying to take over the world, which took over the world temporarily,
Right.
um, just so he can grant more wishes. And then if you did get the opportunity to kind of figure out who Max Lord was, you would have known he was a low level psychic, or he had low powers, and he eventually built them up to be somewhat of a threat. But when he, absorbed this stone, he was supposed to be able to absorb the life force of those around him to keep him youthful. And I thought they were going to kind of do that with it. You got to get the opportunity. Wikipedia has a good information on it, but
Yeah.
it was just no strength in the villain. And even to even make the villain powerful, you weakened Diana. Even after the fact that Trevor, she wished him back. She would, recanted on her wish, but she didn't have enough power to push through some wind while you flying through the air with a lasso. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You can't tell me you rope a doping lightning and you can't walk through some dude that's with a lot of power pushing you
Yeah.
back with some wind. Are you serious? Wonder Woman, you now you flying. And then okay, the only good part of life halfway is when she turned into the invisible jet. I was done
Right.
on the
I was
on
just
the
about to say that.
I'm like, go ahead.
Visually, that was the best visual of the entire movie. Whenever they were going through the fireworks, yeah, that was dope because I remember seeing that from the preview, and I was like, oh, okay, that looks interesting. Not quite sure how that's going to fit, but it looks nice, right? uh,
That's just like a
and
compliment
now,
you say to shut people up. That's jacked up, though. That's jacked up.
yeah, for sure. So you brought up something. Oh, actually, one more salty butter thing.
Oh, thanks, salty.
So the outfit that Diana wears at the very end, the all gold with the wings. We didn't need the wings in the first place because the wings
Especially if
didn't work.
she was flying already. I'm sorry.
No,
I said that out loud.
no. We're gonna talk about it because the original person who wore the wings, like the ancestor, right? She apparently was killed by regular humans while she was ducked under the wings. So how is Diana, although she is the queen of the Amazons, how is it whenever she faces someone that's supposed to be at somewhat an equal, man, she was like ripping through that stuff like it was like toilet paper.
Well, that was the one thing I did expect though, because Cheetah is the only one that can actually harm Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember why, but she does have the ability to cause harm to her.
Okay.
Her claws or something or other. So some of that, comic book wise, she was, and that's why she's a main villain for her
Yeah.
because of her ability. She's not a lightweight person. So, I like that part, the transformation. I wish we would have seen the transformation other than her being on the plane normal and all of a sudden she get to the island where Wonder Woman was and
Yeah. Yeah. You on mute, DT. Okay. So yeah, guys. Wonder Woman 84 was a severe disappointment. Severe. Um, if I had to rate it on like a 5-point scale, it's like a 2. It really is. Um, there was so much hype because this was supposed to be the movie that was going to kickstart the blockbuster movie season, right? There you go. Still on mute though. Um, so that's the thing that really disappoints me is that this was the first major movie, right? Um, and hopefully the rest of the movie schedule for for 2021, hopefully the rest of this movie schedule doesn't let us down. All right. So I got final question. One final question that does need answering. Let me just check real quick with DT. Okay, cool. So I got one final question that needs answering. All right. One final question that needs answering. Which movie do you think has the best sequel in its franchise? Because obviously, sequels are not the easiest thing to pull off if you look at this particular movie, right? Um, Personally, of course, you have the Terminator franchise, which I think is like the best sequel, T2. Um, Moving outside of like the action category, if you look at like dramas, The Godfather, Godfather 2 is a um, solid sequel to the original. Um, but let me know which movie that you think is the best sequel. Um, I am a action fan, of course. Fast and Furious franchise. I think the worst movie in that franchise obviously is the third one, right? Tokyo Drift. And I just think the movies have kind of ratcheted up in action. But that first movie, the first one, and then I think Fast 7 when they did the tribute um, to Brian Walker's character. Those two movies I think were really really dope. Okay, well listen. On behalf of my co-host DT, I do want to thank you guys so much for listening to this podcast. I do hope that you guys are following us at this particular time on Facebook via our Salty Butter Crew. as well as subscribe to our YouTube channel, as well as at two popcorn preachers. Right now, um, in order to engage with you guys, I want to have you guys go to podchaser.com. And this is where you can leave a comment or a positive review for our podcast. Again, it's podchaser.com. Just search for this podcast and just rate us and let us know how this podcast is blessing you, how you are loving it, and any other way that we can improve what we're doing. All right. So, again, on behalf of my co host, DT, I am your host, Brian. You guys have a great rest of your day.